Hi folks, welcome back. And yeah, that looks a bit funny. Hang on, let me sort that out. There we go. For those of you that didn't see the first one, I've been working my way around Petunia, which is a colour pencil piece that I did for Patreon. And I've scanned it in and now I am cleaning it up. And by cleaning it up, the first thing I do is remove the background. The second thing that I do is check for any marks on the drawing itself, and then I get it to the correct colour and ready for printing. So I will zoom out and just go through a little bit of the process here. Petunia is not that colour. I'm going to take these off for a minute. This is the raw file, otherwise known as a TIFF file, and that is the result of scanning. The white you can see around here is the bit that I've already deleted. So in order to see the lighter colour pencil against the white, I have darkened it and coloured it. So that's a quick summary. And this is the bit that I'm doing at the moment. As you can see, it's a bit like drawing in reverse. So I have in front of me Huion, Huion. I have no idea how to pronounce that properly. 1060 Pro Plus, and it is a pen tablet, otherwise known as a graphite or a graphics. Wow, it's blurbing already. A graphics tablet, and it's just like a black canvas. It's a black lump of plastic with a plastic pen, and this is linked into my computer, and if I click it you can see me waving it about. So I just want to check my sound a moment, because by now YouTube would have caught up, so you might hear a little bit of an echo. Yeah, that's great, that's all working fine. I have my iPad in front of me so I can catch your comments. Please talk to me. The whole point of doing this live is because it's a very boring exercise. It's not much fun really, this. So my pen is pressure sensitive, which means that I can get some nice thin lines, and that's why I describe this as painting in reverse. So nice thin, if I'm on the right one. Better check. Yeah, nice thin lines, look at that. It's probably, actually, it probably needs a bit of adjustment, actually. No, that's not what I want. I want that one. So let's just do this a moment. I just want to... okay. No, I might have gone the wrong way. Okay, apply that one. Let's have a look at that one. Oh, that's better. It's a bit more responsive, but it might be a bit too responsive. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Great. So it is pressure responsive. So if I just lightly move my pen, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if I press down, look, I get a much thicker line. So that's how I'm working with this. Very, very light pressure, a bit like colour pencils, not putting too much pressure down. The pink lines, by the way, you can see there they're just a guide for other work actually, and I can turn those off. There, probably look a bit better. I tend to ignore them because I'm used to working with them. For me, it's very helpful to line text up and things like that when I'm doing a bit of design work, and I just get used to them being on there most of the time. So I'm just feathering up, and I'm using the delete, so literally the eraser here. Now there's probably a few people who, if you're used to Photoshop, will know that there's a term called destructive editing. This is destructive editing. In other words, we don't save it over here that we can turn it on or off. I am actually deleting and it's gone. I can reverse this by just pressing the Alt button, and it brings it back. That's only on this session, so once it's saved, I'm not sure whether that will work once it's saved. So every now and again I just turn those effects off, and I zoom out, and I'm just checking that those are looking okay, because I'm happy with this around here, happy with this around here. Yeah, maybe this needs a bit of work here. This is okay. There are other things I can do. So there are, you know, the grey bits in between are the paper underneath. There are other things I can do, which is go to the background eraser tool. Let's have a lower tolerance on that. And I can actually click on that and have that erase, which I will do. That's far too high. I will do later on. So once I've done the main bulk of around the edges, I will come in then, and any discrepancies like that, again, that's too much. We hardly need any on here at all. There's a tolerance because the colours of the background of the paper and the colour pencil part of the piece are so similar that we want to really isolate those. We might not even be able to do it through that method. But for a moment, what I'm doing by the turning it purple is just giving me a little bit of extra sight on where those differences are. You can see that it darkens it slightly, but it darkens the whole piece up really. So let's change this back to eraser. We should be on a 6. Oh, we're not, we're on a 14. It's no wonder that didn't work so well. Alright, so we want that on a 6. Oh, I know why. Excuse me a minute while I just I want this feathered out a bit more than it is. Hello, Debbie. How are you? Hi, Janie. Hi, Elizabeth. I prefer Elizabeth. Can I call you Elizabeth? It's much easier. Alright, so that's not going, so I may have to... Excuse me a moment. Just let me put all that back in. I know, I've just taken it out. Oh, it does work after you save it. That's interesting. Alright, I'm just going to redo that bit because my brush was not, in fact, I did all this on that thicker brush and it's too thick. So, I'm going to redo it. So let's look at that. We need to go number 6, which is an ideal size. Look how tiny that is. Because we really want to feather that out, so I'm just going to swap to my pen. I was using a mouse then. On YouTube I can, on Facebook, sorry, no. Okay. I'm not even going to ask. So one way I can just do a rough on the thick, just to... My guides are... So I've also got my drawing here, but it's actually getting quite dark. We've just got rain. Rain has just come in big time. Just popping a light on so that I can put my drawing underneath it and take a look at the drawing and what the gaps look like. Okay, I've got an idea of that. That's good. So we're going around that ear. Okay, that's fine. So if you've got any questions, fire away. I'd love to know what you all do with your colour pencil drawings or any art drawings actually. How do you process them? I was explaining in the first video that I don't always have to do this. I'm only doing this because it's a white drawing, and the worst part of a white drawing is this process. They are absolute nightmare to process editing wise. For this reason, you've got to separate out those very, very tiny details, because any removal of background, because it's so similar to the colour that the colour pencil is, it just removes all your colour pencil work. So you end up with really unpleasant outlines and losing some of the detail in your picture, and that's really not ideal. So, Elizabeth, I need options for a beginner workshop acrylic painting. I need options. instructions for a beginner workshop. Acrylic painting on a small 10 by 10. Are you on about doing one, as in teaching others, or are you on about finding somebody to teach you? Sorry if I've misunderstood what you've put. I don't like this top at the moment. That'll be why. Not really finished it off. Just make sure. What to paint? For others to paint. Ah, I see. Well, have you asked these others? Have you got your audience yet? I don't know why this isn't. I see. Okay, I haven't turned it purple again, have I? A spring season subject. Lamb. Came to mind. Perhaps you could promote how lovely little lambs are. Not to eat them. You can see how delicate this job is and how mind-numbingly boring it is. I normally do this when I'm on my own. So I had to end the last video rather abruptly because I had a friend ring that they were in the area and came in for coffee. So I do apologise for that if you're watching, or if you watch it and go, ugh. I did plan to be on a bit longer than I was. I mean, to help teach them. Kind of limited with what I can do digitally on the laptop, so I'm currently using my Android to clean my portraits. Is this Photoshop? It's a subscription-based service, right? It is, Zenchi, and thank you for your interaction and getting involved, asking questions and stuff. Yes, it is. I use Snapseed when I'm on my tablet. It's a very, very good, quick way to clean images up. But when it comes to taking a really good scan for prints, I think it's an entirely different matter. Oh, that's loud. Sorry, just a notification. Oh, a notification. Then she subscribed to my channel. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Realise I got my headphones on really loud. Just saying, deafen myself when a notification comes up. So subscription, I've got the Creative Cloud, and which I need because I do video processing as well as editing. Otherwise, I'd just have the individual programs. So I'm learning really about all the others. So the Dina Marshall, not Dina Marshall, the Marshall Artist. I am changing that very shortly. At the beginning, you saw I created that on After Effects, I think. It's quite good. But yeah, Adobe, very expensive they are. They have a large monopoly, I think, on this kind of work now. I'm really losing the kind of hairlines here. So I just need to play around a sec with these settings. This is going to look terrible, alright, for a second. I'm opening up a new levels. I'm just going to experiment with this a sec. Oops, wrong one. I don't think that was doing what I wanted it to do. Yeah, that won't work either. You see how difficult this is just to separate out these little hairs. Yeah, it ain't gonna work. Just gonna have to muddle through on that one, I think. It's not looking too bad. I'm gonna zoom out. Take those two off. Levels should be on anyway, but so that's what we're looking at so far. So give you an idea. Ooh, where am I? Wrong setting. So we can bulk delete, as in a big area at a time. I'm on my mouse at the moment. I haven't reset my tablet since. In fact, if I do that, you can see where I'm erasing. I haven't set Oh dear. Wrong button. I haven't reset my tablet since I reinstalled Windows. So you can see, I'm not going to erase down there, there's a background there. So we will be deleting nearly all of this. All of that white background has got to go. Again, stay away from that shadow area at the bottom. Yep, that's not helpful. Using the wrong buttons again. It always helps to hit the right buttons. So if I take that, all that is a black underlayer. If I take both the black and the white off, you can see actually that that's what I've just erased. It's just that we use layers just to help see where you've been and what you're doing. So it's back on the white layer. Let's go back on hardness 0. And we're going to do a size of 6. Back on that tiny. Let's just take these. Back to seeing where we're at. It actually helps not to go in too close. So back on my tablet. Just reading this. Yeah, so I was going to, Zenchi, I shall carry on. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, please let me know. So I think if you're just displaying online, what you're doing is fine. It's if you take your digital copy then to a printer, he will probably tell you that it needs to be done in a different way. And the reason for that is because of digital copies of your work is very, very different to a digital copy that's ready for print. Is very difficult than a digital copy just for screen use, and it's to do with how things are printed. So with the screen you have a backlight and everything that you do, let's just see that area a minute, everything that you do is seen through that backlight. So your eyes see the brightness behind the painting or the drawing that you've got on the screen. Whereas when you start printing, print doesn't work in that way because the print sits on the top of the paper. Your eyes do not see the light behind the paper. So you immediately got an issue of vibrancy. So when we work for print, we work in the, I can never remember, I'm dyslexic, I have to look it up. So the mode here, if I show you that, the mode here at the moment has got a tick next to RGB, which is what you would work on if you're just doing screen work, which is fine if you're going to then edit using your phone or a tablet. Adequate, fine. But the one underneath it, the CMYK, and it stands, C is for cyan, M is for magenta, Y is for yellow, and K is for something else. I should know that. Anyway, that is the printer colours in your printer. So it mixes those colours together to produce the colour that you want on the printed paper. So it works in an entirely different way. So if you gave your printer something that you had done on your Android phone, he would have to try and convert that, and that would not be a good conversion if you have played around with it with an app. It just, you know, it wouldn't work that well. So the best often is taking a photo in a RAW format with a DSLR. I don't have a DSLR, so I have to use my A4 scanner. That was a very long-winded answer. Sorry about that. I have been known to do that every now and again. Yeah, babble on, that kind of thing. Probably puts people off asking questions, actually. Anyway, a lamb for beginners, Longfellow. Yeah, so that is a good point. Probably not the best thing to do. Well, I guess it depends on whether you're doing just a basic colour without the woolly details. You could do that. That'd be a good intro. You could still do a lamb. Otherwise, a daffodil. Love Snapseed. It's awesome, isn't it? Debbie, only have a badly behaved Kindle. Yeah. I've never owned a Kindle. So I've no idea what that would be like. It doesn't sound good. They're really made for reading text, aren't they? They probably do a lot more nowadays. Excuse me, stopping while I read your text. Messages. Okay, back. Let's switch from phone to PC. Hello, welcome back. Janie, Marike, they have a group here like that. Pre-drawn picture, I'm told. Initials, flower, Easter things, anchor, depending on what time of year, and then they paint. Sounds good. Do you want to put a link? That might be useful. The Art Sherpa. That's another good recommendation. I think I've seen their stuff, but I will have a little look. Hello, Jade. How is it on the opposite side of the world today? Janie, they pre-draw something simple on the canvas and then everybody paints their picture. Just help from the instructor. This is so interesting. It is, isn't it? I found the cutest lamb in Forget-Me-Not. In Forget-Me-Nots, sorry. Cute. They're one of my favourite flowers. I love Forget-Me-Nots. I think they're gorgeous. Daffodils, on the other hand, I like them, but I'm extremely allergic to them, which is never a good scenario. They make my eyes itch and stream, and I sneeze and sneeze and sneeze, and then I feel like poo. was a polite way of saying that. So, God. This is what I dislike about drawing white animals. They must go, it's the drawing of the white animal that's the hardest. No, it's the editing of the white animal. That is the most difficult. Unless, of course, you use toned paper, but I just like using white paper. Now I could be erasing some of the original pencil marks here. It's very, very difficult to tell in places. Get onto some easier bits in a minute, I think. That'd be nice. Jade, I need more motivation to do my artwork. Any tips? So, watching others doesn't motivate you? Just curious. Or looking at potential photo references? Or other things that you can do? Yeah, looking at other people's artwork is always a good motivator. Also a good way to inspire yourself. Inspire you to draw something. Otherwise, I find if I'm a bit low on motivation, but I really want to draw something, I just kind of, I don't know what, I get a bit stuck. I doodle, or I do scribble drawings, or I just play around with brushes, or marks, or pencils, or do things like swatches. Sounds a bit anal, but yeah. As in doing swatches for everything. Haha, how you said that, Dina. How others paint. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there. Please feel free to elaborate. Something tickled you. I am kind of painting, by the way. It's just backwards painting. I can hear the coffee machine going, yee. That means my lovely husband is making me a nice cup of coffee. This pleases me. Did I want to do that stroke? No. Just to be further that way. There are alternatives to Photoshop. I don't know what they are because I don't look at them. I've always used Photoshop, which is, I don't necessarily do a tutorial on it. I do know my way around Photoshop and how to do certain things, but often I have to look them up. So it's so huge, Photoshop, that it's just a learning process all the time. Stop that. Did I ask you to come up? No. No, didn't want that one in. Yeah, after a while you get a bit blind. It's like snow blindness. Hurts your eyes after a while. Final assignment has to be marked E. I'm sure you'll do very well. Janie, take a walk outside. I live in the country and the creek and look at nature and the animals. That's such a lovely, lovely suggestion, Janie. Perhaps you could combine some of the strategies said on here. Like if you go for a walk, maybe take a little notepad with you and just do some either sketching or doodling, or maybe take a pen and do some line and wash work, or some soluble graphite pencils. That would work too. But I definitely think that's a lovely idea to go for a walk. Ah, yes, you're smelling the coffee. I think it's coffee. It's very hard to tell actually with my computer fan making such a racket. O for a silent computer. That means a Mac. Can't afford one of those. Never mind. Yay, it was a coffee. Live screen share. Yeah. Thank you. You alright? Bless. Now I can smell the coffee. So much, Janie. I might do that soon. Properly when it's not raining. I live in Liverpool, and it always rains. I'll bet you Liverpool is not as wet as Cornwall. I believe Cornwall is one of the wettest places in the UK. That, and I would imagine Scotland too. We get very damp weather here, but it is considerably warmer. So we have parts of Cornwall, especially the lower down you go, so Penzance kind of way, where there's tropical plants growing. Don't get that in Liverpool though. And I'm actually what's called a Brummie. For those of you who aren't from the UK, which means I actually grew up in Birmingham in the UK, so I'm not what's known as Cornish to people from Cornwall. Right, look where we're getting to. The edge of the fur, thank goodness for that. Oh. Right, you can zoom out a little bit now. Give me a chance to slurp on my coffee. Right, so we've done that. We may have a few finishing touches to do here and there on that. We've got a load to do around there. Like, oh no, we haven't. I did that. Yeah, I did that. That's good. So we are at just the lower little bit. So we can start to turn off this purple colour. Mainly because we need to do the purple bit here. Now, I may have to do... I'll show you now how we do this. So, because this is not the same colour as the background of the paper, we can do the background erase. What I'm going to do, let's just test this out a sec, because I don't want these bits done. Let's just... Okay. Have to test these things out. Anyway, slurp, coffee and all. So, Jade, I mistake you. I'm ever so sorry. I mistook you for somebody who, I think she's called Jade, who comes on, who's from Australia. I think. Probably called something completely different. It's a short name. Yes, of course. You're not from across the world. Never been to Cornwall. Oh, you must come. It's lovely. I love Cornwall. It's a very beautiful part of the world to live. Sorry. No, I didn't mean to do that. Goodness. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Jade, yes, Liverpool. That's cool. So it's raining in Liverpool. It's been raining in Cornwall. It's actually eased off. Much to the delight of my two cats. Alright, where are we at with this? No, that's no good. So we might have a bit of a problem with this part. If we look here, the paper, this is what the scanner picks up. And that almost alone, when you, I have got the darkness up, mine looks like colour pencil in itself, and that's why it's so difficult to remove. Actually, leave that off now. So difficult to remove the background. So what I might do with this is just pop that tolerance down to 2. This is good. Just have to be very careful. We can go in really, really close if we want to. So, and notice up here that when I click, it'll do the colour. So that colour there, look, pinky colour. Look at this horrible mottled. Now, out here I can delete that, that's not a problem. It's when it's right on the edge here where it's a problem. That's not too bad. I did draw it on Petunia as being quite a rough, textured section just to separate it from the rest of the pig. So let's pull out. That looks pretty good. We've got a bit more up here to do. I don't want it to affect these little leggy areas, so okay. That's good. Are you off now, Marake? Enjoy your dinner, and thanks for popping in and saying hi, and for your input, of course. Jade, I'll get back to her. I think my brain is overloaded with things. Yeah, possibly. Might just need a break. In which case the walk that Janie suggested is a very good one. Alright. I need to get back to task a sec. I'm going to change it back to a razor tool. I'm going to change it back. There you are. To my... Oh, it does work. Oh, good. Right, so I'm doing this on my my tablet pen. Hardness. I want that quite hard. That's fine. Petunia, and we want 100%. Why aren't you erasing? Something's not right. Okay. That's working. Ah, we're working now. Okay. See this part, if you've got this kind of edge on your colour pencil, it's just absolutely so easy just to go around with a slight soft edge. In fact, could probably go a bit softer. So if you notice in the middle it says hardness, so the less hard it is, the softer the edge of the erasing properties. Okay, so we can go ahead and... There are two ways of erasing on the outside. I could have gone to up here and gone to that one, quick selection, and it would basically not go beyond the boundaries because it's got a nice white erased bit around the outside. I hope that made sense. I'm not the best at describing Photoshop elements and how to do them. But this is this bit's quite therapeutic, and you can delete in very large chunks. It's quite satisfying. I just like to have better control. So this is when it's easier to do this, because as you can see, if we go down, see there's a bit missing here. There's a bit missing here. That needs cleaning up. So when you have a black layer, now this definitely needs absolutely sorting out. I need to do this in a minute. But when you've got a black layer, you can really see that you are absolutely taking out every single pixel. So, oh, which button is it? There, that button. Yep. That's from pressing the wrong button on my keyboard. Excuse the sniffs. Just do this delicate work. So again, you can see, where the bits I've missed are. Now, reiterate, I only tend to do this way of working, this particular time-consuming way of going around the edges when I'm doing a white animal. And that's because the colour of the colour pencil on a white background actually blends into the colour pencil piece when you've scanned it. So it's incredibly difficult to separate those two out by doing anything other than this technique, which, yes, is very time consuming. But I will show you at some point, I'll do another video when I've done the donkeys or something like that, and I'll show you how different that would be to clean up. Because where you've got darker areas, it's much easier to remove the background around those dark areas. So do you basically, outside of your picture, I'm going to guess at what that is translated, do I just basically erase right on the way outside? God, even I can't speak. No, it's no surprise, is it? That's quite a regular occurrence. Splurbing. Splurbing is my middle name. I splurb for a pastime. Anyway, I outline the outside of the image. Yes and no. Yes, I'm erasing the paper, but you have to also adjust your levels, and levels is here. So if I turn that one off, you can see more of the paper, less of the paper. Right, so you have to adjust the levels because it's not just the paper that you need to be taking out. So if your picture has the background of the paper, then also so does your image. So it makes it a little bit on the murky side. So you have to also lighten up and try and remove some of that from your main image, so you're cleaning the image up as well as the outside. But we will get onto that in a minute. I will explain that in a bit about levels and what that does and the downside of that, what it does to your image. There is another way which I would not use on this because again it is a light coloured animal against a light coloured background. But this is I only use this method for areas that are very hard to distinguish from the paper. Now, so see this? It's a different texture and I'm thinking, what's that about? Ah, that's because I used, sorry. So this, the reason why it looks different is because I used the background remove tool. So it's removed chunks like of colour and that's why that looks slightly different. So I know where these sections are. I only need to do up to those. And I'm also going to put my hardness. Let's do that. And oh, it's useless with the pen. Right. That's the size. Sorry, that doesn't change. I need to put my hardness right down and make it nice and soft. There we go. That'll do. Pick up my pen again. I've just seen my husband do this on photographs, newspaper. He has the photograph. He has the Photoshop. I understand the pixels, aftergram, and newspaper world. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how much we learn, isn't it? Just by watching other people. Most people don't realise what goes into producing a print from your drawings. As I've already said, you can do it a really, really quick way, but you will lose a lot of your details, especially on a light animal on a light background. The same would apply with a dark animal on a dark background. Same thing. But dark backgrounds are a lot harder to scan because they show up the reflection of the light from the scanner. I'm just going to roughly do these, that's fine. I see my screen's frozen. I just gotta let it catch up a minute. Ah, there we go. I've been having a few computer issues lately. My computer should handle this really easily. But it keeps, every now and again, it keeps freezing. And I don't know why. I've got to spend a bit of time, doing a bit of TLC work with my computer. Poor little thing. It's had a complete new installation of Windows on it. That didn't seem to solve the problem, so it's probably a driver issue and a hardware, so you know, a software issue that affects the hardware. Yes, I had to jump in to help. Yeah, family stuff. All hands to the deck when deadlines are around. Alright, okay, I'm just gonna go up to the edge so that we don't need to go right up. We'll see how that looks in a minute. You can always bring some of that back on the edges if you need to. The person decided to got nice to smell your coffee. Yeah, it keeps stopping to smell it. That's what it is. Let's zoom out a bit. I like to be, as I said, I like pixel perfection. Oh, we went over a bit of purple there. Okay. Now this is probably a very long-winded way of doing this. Shh, my computer's beeping at me. Like I said, I actually quite enjoy this bit. It's the really hard concentration bit that I don't like. There's always a quicker way to do stuff on Photoshop, and I'm delighted when I come across one. Otherwise, I stick to what I know. Alright, so we're looking good. And let's just take off that a moment so you can see what we're looking like. It's very deceiving when it's black. So we're looking good. We just got to do just this little section here. I think there's a little bit here. These edges definitely need doing something with them. I'm not happy with those jagged edges. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do is do not hardness. I'm going to change the opacity to about 50%. And I'm doing backwards erasing, so I'm pressing the Alt on my keyboard. As you can see, look, it pops up on screen. That's clever. Okay. And all I'm going to do is feather some of these edges out. Find out where the edges are first. So they're less harsh. And yes, that's the paper in the background, but that'll be fine. It's just a way of dealing with these hard edges. And I'm only going to do this on the background bit. Ooh, look at that. We find some of those purpley bits. Look. Oh, I covered quite a lot of those up. It's very difficult to tell. Great. That looks good. Now we've got my back to the colour pencil matching the background. So, I'm going to click these layers back on. Take that one. Actually, it's better on this section. So we've got a brush size. We want brush size 6. And we don't want 100%, so let's go about 70 to 80 roughly. Let's have a look at my reference photo. I keep calling my own drawing the reference photo. No, let's have a look at my drawing. And that, let's do that in a bit actually. This bit needs the bit of wispiness going on. It's kind of slightly out of focus, so let's do that at naught. So we've got a bit more of a feather. It doesn't affect it too much since the brush is so small anyway. But it might be better. stick with that as a hardness. That's fine. Thank you. Still on 50%. Yeah, that worked quite well. No. Come back. Alright. Whew. So, turn those filters off. Levels are on. Just do a quick check. Now there's some messy area. Oh dear, no, I didn't want to do that. Just going to check around. See, we've got spots now that we need to just get rid of. Actually, let's just put that about there. Sometimes it's a spot on my computer screen. Just take out some of those. That was a spot I was trying to get rid of that was on my computer screen. Okay, just going to feather some of this out. I'm just looking at my drawing. I'm just wanting this to look as close to the original as possible. The original has a few more gaps in it, so just create those. Good. Now you notice here, like there's little hairs and stuff like that. We'll get to that in a bit. And if you look closely as well, you'll be able to see the original pencil line. And that is because we zoomed in, you know, quite a lot here. So I would expect to see that. So I'm just going to go up. I'm just concentrating on the edges for a minute. So let's have a look at it without levels. Yep. So you can tell here that the difference between these two, and these seem a lot longer. I'm just going to come out with this. That's what levels does. Because it brightens things up, you also lose some of your edges And that's exactly what's happened in this case. Anyway, let's get rid of some of this extra background. If you want to just double check, just go onto black, just make sure that you've removed most of that. So if I put levels on again, you'll be able to see that shrink back. And the whole thing, look how much it brightens up, look. So that's what you're doing, you're removing the dullness out of all of the picture, not just the outside. This is just a quick spot check. So that doesn't look very natural there. Let's just go away a minute. I have to keep swapping from my mouse because I haven't programmed it in. Right, I want that back to 6. That's fine where it is. So I'm just adding these in on paper. They would just be a bit more sharper than they're showing on here. I must keep putting my pen down away from the tablet. Yep, that looks good. Fine, up here needs a bit of touch up. So if I sent this to my printer, who does this kind of thing for me in certain cases, I definitely don't get a good a job as this. Excuse me while I slurp on my rapidly cooling coffee. See, look at these. Difficult these are to remove from the paper. Let's take out some of those darker spots. We're about where we started, I think. Did we start there? That's a mark on my screen. Yeah, okay. Don't do things twice. So I can put my drawing away now before it gets damaged. Alright, so we're looking good. I want to show you the difference when I turn the levels off. You'll see that what the levels do, they do take out some of the colour pencil. Sorry. But they also brighten the image. Now I can change these levels. Now that this is done on the outside, I have a better idea at what this is going to be like now with a white background. So I'm just going to, in fact I could do it in increments here. So it's on 241 at the moment. So if I go right the way across, you can see what happens to this. So I could start with this and go 255, well I'm going to go in 5 increments. I'm going to go in, and what I'm looking at are the edges, so I'm going to get a good screen close up where the edges are. So that's 245. Because the more you put this up, the more of the detail that you lose. So I'm thinking that's probably quite good. You want to do it as little as possible so you're working with much more of the raw image. Now I did move this middle section out. I'm going to put that back to 0. No, that's not right, is it? That's definitely not right. Thank you. So this would be there. So what you're doing when you lighten it, you also have to bring up the neutral values to balance out the lightening effect. And again, it adds to the picture, so you want to do this as little as possible. And the rest you do through colour manipulation. So, alright, I've got to go. Very quickly. I haven't realised the time. I've got to go and work. Alright, so thank you ever so much for joining me. I will do another video on this, which is about colour manipulation of this and getting it ready for print. And then it will be ready for print. Okay, so thank you ever so much for everybody joining me, and I will catch you soon. I have got to go. I think I've got somebody at the door. Okay. I shall catch you soon, folks. Take care, and bye-bye.